If this were a 7 o'clock in the morning meeting, absolutely.
Yes.
The coffee would be gone.
Once you leave the house, you're done with it?
Well,
Twyla's got coffee here at the 5 o'clock meeting.
I usually, I'll make a pot of coffee when I get to school in the morning, and then I'll kind of drink on that during the morning. Then I'm done.
Oh, that's what I've got. Okay.
I have moving cups at home. Whatever, unless there's a 6 o'clock meeting or something that brings it.
I've got to get rid of this stuff. This is my vice.
Used to be, now I mainly just drink coffee, but
Yeah.
I never buy pot because I'll drink it, so. And if it's sitting right here, I'll drink it, but I don't buy it on purpose.
That's what I have to do.
How do you drink water at home if you got pop in the fridge? Not happening. Really? I drink maybe
Just
3 cans
take a look at the
a month. Really?
you guys take a look at
Beer, a different thing.
the minutes. Okay, with minutes.
We're all screwed in the end, I guess.
I
That's
want to get that done so that I can get my water.
Actually, that beer might be better for you than the
Probably
carbonated
is
pot.
something with aspartame.
All right, because of you, Vince, I'm going to drink more beer.
There you go. Trendsetter.
I'm on a health kick, dang it.
That said so.
Barley.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're
It's
good.
got all your food groups except
Yeah,
pizza. Light them up, Twyla.
You guys ready?
No.
Much as we're ever going to be.
Snack on my chips. I hope it doesn't.
Guys ready?
If it does, who cares?
Call to order this meeting, negotiations. Item number 2, review and approve the minutes of August 13th. You all should have copies of them. Give you a second to look through them. Anybody see any corrections or additions?
We're good.
Have consensus that minutes are approved? Okay, I'll have both sides sign on. Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 3, discussion topics of negotiation. Number 1, outside the day compensation. Chair would open it up for discussion. I believe Mr. Fay and Mr. Wool sent out a email. Team members received that?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
I tried to create I went back and looked at some of the wording of some of our other negotiated agreement items, and I put in there just kind of how I thought it would fit. And we did talk about last time the precedents that had already been set by our teachers, and I included in that the open houses and, of course, the federally mandated title program for the affected teachers. I did leave the rate of pay open because I didn't know how the cost analysis would work out. So this is what I came up with. It was a good attempt, I think.
Mr. Fay, just the way it reads to me with that rate of pay and everything, it just reads to me more like an hourly paid contract, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like sort of like a blue collar contract. And so I was wondering, how does the DEA view it? Just help me understand. Are we wanting to be paid hourly? Is it paid on salary? I mean, how do you view the profession?
The profession?
Yeah, is it an hourly rate job, or is it a, is
Well,
it a
I think
profession?
that when you look at the aspect of what we do for summer school at an hourly rate, and that's kind of where I went with this, is, if we're going to treat summer school as an hourly rate, we could treat this as an hourly rate.
But summer school wouldn't be a negotiated contract as a typical working,
Right.
170 or 85 days. And that's totally separate from the whole deal.
Yeah, and I appreciate where you're coming from, and a good start to that. But, are we looking at just going to an hourly rate for everyone, for the contract itself? Or are we wanting, because that will be in the contract, so then that's an hourly rate. Or are you looking at being paid on a salary? I mean, we need to understand where the DEA was wanting to go. So then I think from there, we can then work on the compensation language.
What are you thinking? I mean, this is what I came up with, based upon what we kind of talked about last time.
Right.
We need to fairly compensate, and that was our problem statement, is to fairly compensate for duties required beyond. So, if you want to figure out what an hour of everybody's contract is worth, if they work an hour, or if you want to make it a rate of, if you have an hour, you get comped an hour. I mean, I guess what are your thoughts?
Well, first, I guess I just wanted to come to a common understanding as far as what we're talking about. And I think Jason asked that last time. Are you wanting to be paid, or can we look at comp time? Can we look, how can we resolve it from there? I think that'll help us to have a common understanding.
What was the resolution of the curriculum night grievance?
Resolution was, we comped that time, what was it, at 2 hours, I believe, or something like that.
For 2 hours, I'm not sure what we.
And we had the
Okay.
discussion on pay there too, when that starts to get
Okay.
to be.
And I
tricky.
think that if our teachers who went and worked those hours beyond the district mandated hours beyond the contract day, if they were resolved in that situation like that, I think I could take that back to them, and they would accept that as well. But they just want to know that their time is valued
Oh, yeah.
beyond their contract day,
Right.
because that's family time. That's other, some people have second jobs. That's that time. So I mean, they just want to know that that time is valued to them, and there's a value to it.
What I did is I put together a couple of versions after I looked at yours that we could look at. One is long, and it's actually more like a lawyer type of thing. But then I also made a shorter one, if you'd like to take a look at that, and just it has the flexibility and without money, but it has the time compensation in it. If you'd like to take a look at those two versions, possibly.
I'm
and see.
open to taking a look at them.
Okay, well, so here we'll pass those out. Let's see, I got plenty here, so just make sure Twyla gets one, and I've got a couple extra here, so I know there's one for Mr. Smith and one for Twyla. That's, version 1's a longer one, and then this is version 2.
Already see some
Oh, wait, here we go.
percentage.
That's correct. Yep.
Yep, they're coming. Yep.
Two for here. Well, I can see already that we have an issue, because the contract date currently right now is 8 a.m. to 3:45. And 4:30 would inhibit the day for, we have some teachers who are coaches and so forth, so that would inhibit, time where the junior hires and so forth would have to sit in the school until coaches would get done with their school day and so forth. So I don't think that increasing the length of the day is going to be acceptable to our members.
Well, take a look at the rest of it, of where I tried to think of things that we talked about last time that you said have been just a precedence has been set and have been accepted. And just see what your thoughts are on, if we've got everything in there, do we need to list everything? I mean, you know,
Okay, I'm
that's
gonna.
my struggle there.
Well, yeah. By precedence, we did not accept curriculum night. We grieved it, and it was compensated. So
Right.
we can't. You can't put that in there as a precedence of acceptance of the 90
okay,
minutes.
yep. That I think was put in there. I think I was cutting and pasting. So yes, okay, but
Music programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
I'm looking at version 1 right now, Mrs. Farrer, and I don't think this is ratifiable by our group. But because
Right.
it's asking, that the principals will have discretion as well to add more nights, again, to include all the things that I included that would be paid here. Mandated school-sponsored workshops. And I put that in there because there was a school I read about that could only get a presenter for a workshop on Saturday and required all of their teachers to come to school on Saturday.
well, number one is more the lawyer version, because then, of course, a lawyer can take that to court and defend it pretty easily. For number two, with some of the changes that you've suggested, what are your thoughts on that one? If we're changing the time, we're taking curriculum night out, of course, if that's what, we decide.
The question I know that's going to be received by the teachers who went through the grievance process this past year is, would the flexibility to compensate teachers with time off be the 15-minute tickets?
Well, the administration would have to put together some kind of a procedure, and I realize some of the schools, we heard on the board, some of the schools have different procedures.
Right.
So that was confusing to us as well. Some are requiring, what is it, a green sheet, and some are just kind of saying, yes, you can go, and, So I thought that, that's really on the administration of the school district to figure out what to do. But, I don't know that we'd go with 15 minutes. I don't know. I think it should be uniform with other.
For simplicity's sake,
Parts of
with the language that I put out there, it didn't include any administrative type of mandates. It was only district mandates. And the aspect is that, we understand that in our language of our negotiated agreement right now, it talks about the building principals may on occasion call a staff meeting. But we have also heard from some of our members that some of those staff meetings are going into 5:30, 5:45 at night, and cutting into where they are cutting it close to get their kids from daycare, and increasing the cost of daycare.
So yeah, a staff meeting to me is a shorter time, not
Absolutely.
like a 2-hour workshop or something, you know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
what I would interpret, or you think?
And I know that the high school, we have staff meetings, at 7:45, and we're all there, and that's before our contract day, and we understand that because it's not an extended amount of time.
So it sounds to me maybe that we're talking about blending part of those things, where we talk a little bit about the staff meeting, but it sounds like maybe we need, the administration needs to make that a little more restrictive, on the principals, so that it's not 2 hours long, if that's what you're saying. 7:45 seems like, well, you got, 15, 20 minutes, and then you got to go to class, so obviously. So maybe what we should do is try to take these two You want to take like your version and this version 2 with some of the corrections? I'm not really comfortable agreeing to it without the superintendent being
Absolutely.
here, since he has to enforce it, and he'll be back tomorrow. But maybe I could take some notes and ask him to work on some language. Mr. Reeve, do you have thoughts? Maybe if it's all right, just to ask him, since he was a big part of the grievance procedure.
Well, first of all, I really wasn't. I mean, the superintendent handled
Yeah.
all of those. But just a point of clarification as chair, did I hear you saying that you should change the 4:30 to 3:45? Okay.
Yeah.
And that one curriculum night should be stricken from this version?
So one curriculum night.
Because by precedence, we have not accepted a curriculum night.
Been there?
We grieved
but-
it.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get my head around what both sides are talking about here. This statement would say that back-to-school night and federally mandated title programs, Title I lookalike, orientation, IEPs, music programs, those are all acceptable as long as curriculum night is not part of that. And that flexibility to compensate teachers for time off, the administration should develop a procedure. And I hear Mr. Fay saying, or Mrs. Fair, that it should be maybe district-wide so that each building isn't doing one's doing a coupon thing, one's doing something
Seems to me
else.
that would be better.
more equitable and fair. Absolutely.
And including staff, the language
Yeah.
of the current contract, something as staff meetings, and I'm hearing you say sometimes they're excessive, so we would want to talk to the superintendent about making sure that that doesn't occur, unless it's something that's super important. But I can't, you'd schedule some special time for that, you know.
And I guess, we just don't want, if one of our members has to get up and leave, because the contract it technically is over and they have other obligations made, that they aren't punished, obviously, which could definitely happen.
Okay, so what, go ahead.
The other aspect of it is I'm looking at this, where was I talking about? Oh, music programs, we have accepted that, but there is a precedent set in our district already where high school music programs and so forth are paid on extracurricular, and I think that we would want to keep that open to application to the extracurricular advisory committee, that we could possibly put that in there. Because right now, our junior high and high school extracurricular or music program people get extracurricular money for that.
And they still would.
And they still would, but, so the only
Saying,
equitable difference is that
elementary.
elementary. So here now, we would like to reserve the right to submit an application, a proposal to that extracurricular committee for our music program people.
I'd have to think about that. It just seems to me that's part of the job. And I wasn't aware that, I wasn't aware that the high school was paid as an extracurricular. I didn't realize that. So I'd have to look and see, does the high school do more concerts? And
Well,
that's why
there's
it's
pep band and
different?
stuff that's in there as well.
Oh, so there's actually different responsibilities for high school. That's why it would be on the extracurricular.
Extracurricular has 2 high school positions and 2 at the junior high, both one
Okay.
vocal and one instrumental.
Yeah, and I don't think the junior high position has any pep band type things.
They do some marching band activities, I know, every fall.
Okay, so that would be something we'd have to see what the difference is, why that occurs. I'd want to investigate that.
Right.
To see what the
But
difference is.
we just don't want to, if we agree to something like this and go to our members with it, we just want to make sure that, we do have that right still to apply to the extracurricular committee.
And I think that committee, that would be open for any new ideas, so whether it be soccer or something else like that.
Right.
Okay.
So what about just elementary music programs? The classroom teachers need to be there for that as well. So what would that be like? They've just always been there.
You know, I'm not sure. In most buildings, I think the grade level teachers, and Yvette helped me out, you know, they're not, I don't think they're told to be there. They just come to
They
help
help out.
help make sure their kids are have their
They help
good
us
performance
with
heads on before they come into the gym or the performing area. And, you know,
When you have 75 kids, it's hard to do that on your own. so the
and I've
teachers
been
help
to
us.
some of the ones at Lincoln where they have more than one section.
Yep.
And if you have 4 sections of first grade,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know that that's been an issue. But
And in all reality, we could take it back to them, and if they accept, you know, we could propose and say, you know, and based upon precedence with that, but I would want, not being an elementary teacher, I'd want to get their input.
Yeah, what I was getting at is, would the classroom teachers, are you saying, might possibly go on the extracurricular schedule along with the music teachers?
Yeah.
And I
That,
just
I'm not
wanted-
saying that, no.
No, I'm just
not
wondering,
saying
like,
that.
how far do we go and where do we draw the line?
Okay.
It seems like we're having to get really specific about some things and
Right.
then,
Right.
okay.
Okay. But I would agree that we should both go back and take my version and your version and try to put something together where we can, and with you talking to Dr. Sullivan, that we can
Okay.
put together.
All right, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is you're not set on being paid money per hour, that the comp time would be acceptable. That's important for us to know.
I think that needs to be discussed too with our members, because I know being included in that grievance procedure, comp time does not work at elementary. There's no time to take a comp time. If you want us to leave at 3:15 or 3:30, it's just the responsibility with your kids up until that point is just not
I
possible.
see what you're saying, yeah.
And I
So-
really feel it either needs to be, yeah, maybe a percentage of your salary or per hour rate. I think that we could take back and
Well, as you're talking about money, that is also taking away from that total amount of money that we have to spend. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think we had it figured
Yeah.
around like $4,000. Yeah.
I think with benefits, I was at that 55, 80 or something like that.
and
And that was just
I did,
curriculum night, all right?
yeah,
Just one night,
Curriculum
yeah.
night.
I assumed 125 people, and that might have been high, but it might have been pretty close. And I just did $28 an hour and then added bennies, and I came up with 6,300.
Would it be easier if we just put something in there that said if there is a curriculum night, it'll be paid for, instead of all this other language and opening up a lot of different issues? And because it was stated that most everything else has been accepted, and it was just curriculum night that was the
So
sticking
far,
point.
so far,
Yeah.
yep.
So
Yeah, well, and, you know, from the board's perspective, we don't want to talk about this as we're spending a lot of time on it, and then we get a grievance on something that no one had really we hadn't even thought of even at this table. We would like to try to take care of what we can, knowing that we can't know about every single occurrence that might happen.
And also understanding that, you know, without Dr. Sullivan here to help guide this, because he is the one that would have to administer the whole thing, I can understand where you want to talk to him.
So, could we, he'll be back tomorrow, so would it be acceptable if I talk to him and take these two versions to him and ask him what he thinks, and maybe draw up something that we could send out?
And then I'll kind of
Is that,
play with it a little bit too, and see if we can't put something together.
can I clarify, are we using version 1 or version
Oh.
2? Did we decide on that?
I think we're talking about version 2.
I don't think version 1 is even,
Yeah, okay.
But that's when you start
Yeah.
talking about how formal do we need to make it, that's where it's gonna end up going, if it has to be real formal.
Any other discussion on outside the day compensation? What I hear both groups saying is they would like to visit with the superintendent and members and look at version 2 or some modification thereof. I heard Mr. Hanson say maybe an additional line in the negotiated agreement under school day. I believe there are 4 of them, and if they added a 5th, that would address curriculum night or whatever the issue is, that might be the fastest way to address it. And any of those that are created will be sent to team members. Is that a fair recap? Okay.
Now, Mr. Fay, are you thinking you're going to work on something, send it, and then send it out, and then maybe from there we could react to that and put all 3 of them together, send those
Yeah,
out?
so if you want to send the one that you and Dr.
Whenever.
Sullivan come up with, and then,
Okay, we'll
Yep.
work
I'll
on
work on
that,
that.
how that's going to go.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else on item 3.1? Okay, moving on to item 3.2, grievance procedure. Review and discuss possible contract language revisions.
we'd like to ask the question again, based upon what's in our negotiated agreement right now, other than the timeline that you say is unfair, what else is the problem?
Well, I didn't say it was unfair, it just, there is no
There's no
timeline
timeline.
on the teachers, but it
Yep.
is on to the administration and the school
Okay.
board. So that's what we would like to do. I did send out sort of a correction or blended, or I don't know what you call it, but just
Yeah.
from what I heard at the last meeting.
Yep, and I have it here, and it's better, but it's still not what I think is ratifiable. And here's why. I think that your first paragraph specifically puts it only in the negotiated agreement or the individual contract. I think the district is opening itself up for litigation should it be not in there, because right now, if it's a workplace problem, it can be grieved. If it's an employee on employee or employee with supervisor issue, it can be grieved. Where this would take that out, because it is not, a workplace issue is not in the negotiated agreement or teacher's contract. So, currently right now our
Mr. Fay, could we just take a break, because I don't have the right version, and I see Mr. Reap doesn't and Mr. Hansen doesn't, so could we just make a
This is the
copy
one
of
I
yours?
just, this
Could
is the
we-
one I just printed off today,
Yeah.
so.
So could we just, realizing none of us have the right copy, could we just make copies of yours and then come back so I know what you're saying?
Yeah.
Would that be all right? Because
Sure.
you don't have it, do you?
Okay, we'll just take a,
Just take a.
Because that was the one you sent out
This is the one I sent out.
yesterday, or, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So wouldn't this fix the whole problem right there?
Sorry about that.
Contracts will be-
I thought that we had the
Will be
correct
paid at
one.
the pay rate converted to an hour wage.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You want me to look at, should we look at something else? I mean, should we consider something else? Then we can. Are you talking about, you'll be back on the previous one?
Oh, he just.
Yeah, I was just
talking a little bit here,
bringing some
so.
up for-
Oh, that's fine. I just thought if there's another issue, we should.
well, in the minutes, Brian he suggested instead of saying working days, just call them calendar days. And that's, I think, what Superintendent Sullivan wants to know.
Yeah.
Is it a calendar day? Is it a contract day? Is it a working day?
And that was something that we talked about this morning when we sat down, is what is the definition of a calendar day? Is it a calendar day versus, Monday through Saturday, or working days, or
Or
what is
calendar
it?
day, everything on the
Everything on the calendar. That's how I interpret it, but,
Otherwise, it would be a contract day.
right.
But then the issue that came up was people are gone during Christmas break, and
Which is part of the reason why
they're
we-
trying to hold a grievance
Yeah.
meeting or whatever part of that procedure it was.
Oh, I'm kind of like your little system here. My papers are just kind of exploding.
Just stack them.
Well, apparently ours are also, because we don't have the thing that I wrote. We thought we printed everything out. We're not ready, so. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jim, 64.45.
Okay, thank you. Now we can go back and I can write notes right on this.
Call the meeting back to order, please.
Thank you. Okay, now that I have it, the first part here.
The first paragraph, if you compare that to the first paragraph of the current grievance procedure, The current procedure says the purpose of this procedure is to secure an equitable and fair solution to a claim based on an event or condition that affects the conditions or circumstances under which a teacher works. Which could be workplace, it could be,
Okay,
it could be
no.
employee, employer, it could be, I mean, this is a nice general way of saying, okay, if it affects the workplace, you can be grieved. Where if you say now, if it's only in the negotiated agreement or teacher's individual contract, and it doesn't fit those terms, it can't be grieved. So then what is the other solution that could be taken by somebody? Possible litigation.
Well, yeah, and I thought of that, and I thought, well, we'd say we have policies on harassment as an example. Are you saying, so this, I mean, I would think you'd go to the board policy in particular situations, if it's harassment or it's other types of issues, so we have a policy on. But I understand what you're saying. I don't have a problem with rewording that.
Right, and I know that we talked about the definition, because the definition was just a repeat of that first thing. And I did look up the definition of grievance on dictionary.com, and it's a wrong considered as grounds for complaint or something believed to cause distress, or a complaint or resentment, and I'm okay with utilizing that.
There's a lot of definitions. They all pretty much say the same thing.
So, I mean, the way paragraph number 1 sits right now, I believe it's unratifiable by our teachers, because I think they're going to think it's limited to just those two things.
Oh, yeah, and I guess I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking, we're really looking at the negotiated agreement. That's mostly what, because that's what came up last time, was the day.
So, yeah. The other aspect is we can completely understand the aspect of the timeline that you have that we don't. And we can understand where you would like to see some back. 30 days we think might be a little bit too little if we're talking 30 calendar days. Would you be willing to do something like 60?
Well, maybe. What do you think? It's more just getting that time limit
Right.
in there.
And we agree with that. And we were talking, you know, if we don't realize that we have an issue after 60 days, we probably don't.
Yeah, or if it, yeah, okay. So let's think about that one. Like I said, I want to, whatever we decide on, I still want to run by the superintendent.
Yep,
To make
absolutely.
sure, since he's the one who really carries it out. But I don't think 60 is a big deal.
But we do want to say we do understand where you're coming
Okay.
with that timeline,
Yeah,
and
thanks.
that's
That was really
Been
hard
acceptable.
over, the holidays on everybody to just try to get it all done.
absolutely. So we would be willing to accept, some sort of timeline in there for us.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? Grievance procedure?
All right. Well, I'll be meeting with the superintendent, and I will just visit with him about those two things. Neither one of those raised too much of a problem with me, with you either. So I think we're looking good on that one.
Okay. Item 3.3, Summer School Memorandum of Understanding.
And that's the one I didn't make a copy of this morning. But, I read it, and I believe the team members here all read it, and it appeared to be okay from our standpoint in regards to, you did make an effort to look at it every 2 years and understand that you listened to our concern. We appreciate that.
My issue on that one was I didn't really want to put the dollar amounts in there because things could change, and maybe something would, who knows what would change. I didn't want to tie the budget committee to saying it has to be this amount. Obviously they'll look at it, and then I don't think you would be going different than the precedent, but what if you wanted to do more? You were saying it has to be more. What are your thoughts?
This is a 1 or 2 year contract, so I don't know.
1 year.
It'll be looked at, I guess. I don't know if there's anything set in stone that says,
Well, it does say in the agreement that that's what
Does
you'll
it?
consider.
Yeah, the memorandum.
I would consider $30, I'm sure anyway, so I'd be
You
fine.
can, well, what is it, I guess we need, does it say that that's what will be done, or does it say that's what will be
Well,
considered?
the original said will consider a $2 increase
Okay.
to
That's fine.
$30 an hour. rewrote it with your consideration and took the $2 out of there. But I can pull that up on the screen and put it back to its original.
Do you want to, should we just look at what it is
Yeah,
right
look
now?
at what it is now, and it just took the $2 out, not wanting to tie the budget committee up to $2 or $4 or whatever. It's the exact same thing except for that increase part in paragraph 2, I believe.
It'd probably be easier if we didn't put a dollar amount in, or just for the fact this could be ongoing, and that we always look at it at 2 years instead of
Because it is going,
every
yeah.
3. So I guess a dollar.
Really, what
amount-
this says is that they should reconsider it every 2 years, at least, instead of 3.
And
Which
it
I
does
think is
show,
fair.
and it does show precedence of the $2. I mean,
26,
it
28.
does show that, so
Yeah.
that would be almost implied.
Yep. And that would be the intent.
Yep, that would be our intent. Right, budget committee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
look okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
well, let's go ahead and sign off on that one. John, you're getting the ink,
I
huh?
guess.
Good man.
I don't want to be on the only one on the payroll, you
No,
know.
you're the leader.
I don't want to be the only one on the payroll.
Okay. Okay. Item 3.4, salaries. First item A, adjust lower half of salary schedule. Mr. Fay.
Overwhelmingly, I mean, we had only about 60 replies back to the email, but overwhelmingly it was to fix the bottom of the matrix. So that is going to be our number one priority, is to adjust that lower half of the salary schedule. And based upon that, I guess, I know last meeting I looked at, Chris, what you had, or Ms. Fair, that you had, what was the increase in number of staff?
7.5, 7.5.
Okay, 7.5, which it resulted in an increase in how much money?
Oh, let's see if
From
we can
that.
find that sheet.
And I know that you guys handed it out. Okay, right here.
You got it?
487,500.
487,500. My question on that to Mr. Reap or to Mrs. Fair is, does that 487,500 include the increase that was given for the administrative salaries?
They're in a
They're in a
separate,
separate
Yeah.
they're
line
in a
item.
separate category on there.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then I didn't have that to see that, so I apologize. I guess as we were sitting and looking at the 1.1, is it 1.100 or is it 1.199?
It's like it's just a hair under 1.1.
Yeah.
But
Do you
for
have
all
that
intents and
handout?
purposes,
I think-
yeah, we just
We
rounded
just
it to
rounded it
1.1.
up. Do you guys have that handout still?
Yeah, and in the minutes, it says Mr. Hansen felt it would affect the new teachers and explained approximately 125,000 would be taken away from the 1.1 million used for salaries. Team members agreed that the money available was 1.1 million to be used towards salaries outside work compensation and adjusting the lower half of the salary schedule. And that's what the minutes say.
Or the spreadsheet that shows everybody the two ways.
Is that what you want?
No, that was the other one. It's
This
all
one?
mine, I thought.
Hmm?
That's
Which
what I
one?
got it right here. That's what.
Okay.
It's right around that 126,
Is that the one
125.
you're looking for?
No, it was different one. I know I had it here, but that's fine. I guess I'll go.
Okay.
Well, so are you, I mean, are you thinking you're gonna, you take that 125,000 for the lower half, and then you subtract that out, you would only have that much money left. And that
Correct.
includes your career increments as well.
Which is already figured in on that sheet that he, the salary calculator that he did. Because I was just running stuff on the salary calculator when I was doing stuff.
So I'd take about $265 from a new teacher. So from what we, if we add that in there, that takes out about $265 a new teacher would get in raises. And I know last year sitting here, it was made comments on both sides about beginning teachers can't afford to live here and this and that, and the spread difference, and that's why it was put in last year.
Right.
I mean, doing that for 1 year that would get us nowhere. I mean, getting that spread down. I guess fighting for it last year would have got us nowhere in doing that for 1
Right.
year.
I just wanted to reiterate, when we were in our last meeting in December, at the minute 1640, it is said, I think we can work going forward on that next year to fix that.
And that was between the cell 6 and cell 7 because it wasn't the same.
No,
It
because
was-
we were talking about everybody else. That was before we recognized that issue. Because it was after the offer was made. So, and we think that we do need to fix that. That was overwhelmingly, that was to fix that.
The objective of the board is to not keep increasing the spread. Because as we stated last time, there is already quite a large spread in the salary schedule between a beginning teacher and the more veteran teachers. And that'll just continue to get bigger and bigger, and you know that can't be sustained over time. That was part of our objective. One, in making it more affordable for adding into the beginning teacher salary, making it at least so that they could afford to pay their rent and live here. And that's a 0.02, so it wasn't a great amount. We felt that made a difference. We also felt that, yes, between 6 and 7, as Mr. Roll pointed out, there was not very much money, so we wanted to work on fixing that. But it's not our objective to continue to increase the spread, because it's not going to be able to be sustained over time. Pretty soon you will have a more veteran teacher making 3 times as much as a beginning teacher. That it's not going to be able, we can't sustain it. It just will mean that the beginning teachers are making less and less. So that's where we're coming from.
And it's, in the minutes it says from step 6 to 7, and then my comments right after that talking about we can fix that, because that step wasn't as big between 6 and 7 as some of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a point of reference, and Jim and I both agreed that the teacher calculator spreadsheet is a good tool, and I plugged those numbers in using both scenarios. If you correct the lower half and add 0.02, you would have an increase in the base of $817 to get to your 1.1 million. If you don't do that, you would have an increase in the base of 1,044. And so that's the difference, so that people know that bottom half correction, depending on what the base finally falls at, if it's at 35,000, it was cost out at 124,152. But at 1.1 million, it would be 35,585, I believe. I don't have that in front of me. So that's information for both sides to consider.
Mrs. Fair, Mr. Reap, would you mind if we took a quick 5 minutes?
Sure. No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Adjourn for our caucus for 5 minutes.
I'm out. Where is it?
I know I just
where's
have a
my copy of
spreadsheet
this?
here and where they're
Is it
going.
underneath your stuff?
I don't know. That doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not getting into this one. Well, here's my thoughts. If we give in on this part, I said if we don't give in on this part, we'll do the flat on the base. If we give in on this point too, it is the board is in favor of doing a flat.
Maybe. How about if you give in on the point two, and the rest of the money goes to the upper? That'd be 0 through 6.
Well, that's, I mean, that's all defeats the purpose. I mean, give in here to take here, we all get back to the same. And nowhere in the minutes, it's been stupid to say, yeah, we want it this year, but next year we'll give it back to you.
I just heard Lyle as he went out say, I've got the audio on my flash drive. I never heard anyone say that. The only discussion was that difference between 6 and
6
7.
and 7, that's all
But
it was.
That's fine.
You can say what you want.
and I guess I'd be interested to see, okay, if 60 people responded,
Of how many
geez,
teachers?
how many of them were veterans?
Well, exactly.
59?
Yeah. I mean, it's so disproportionate already. Except for this.
Maybe just propose this 1,700 and fund flat
What's I'm saying?
without correcting it.
Anything else?
Put it up on the screen.
Okay. So we say we'll come back to that and just discuss the salary part. We got to discuss it all together. I mean,
It all really pretty much has to be discussed together.
should I turn this on or?
Get it warm. I mean,
We
it's
might
up
as
to you.
well, because we think we should put it up so everybody can see. Do you want to slide around here, or do you want to go down there so you can see?
to the side, Jason. Oh, sorry.
Projector has to be on first. Oh, projector, I clicked on. Yep, there. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Now that makes me mad that I can't find stuff.
The only thing that is on there, Jason, is the 817.
Okay.
Not that that could be done, but
Because last year, they always said, everybody said, well, a new teacher can't afford to live here. That's why that was put on.
That's why I sat down and I divided it out and figured out, I just divided it by 12 and then figured out 30%. That's what I wanted to do. You gotta figure out. Except for the.
Well, we will this year, yeah. We were 100 behind them last round, beginning teachers, but 9,000 out of them on a 15 year teacher.
She's honest.
I mean, so we're in there, that was unfair.
Just like kids, right?
Huh?
Michelle, when I went through the credit union yesterday, and I didn't use it at all.
Realize this means this. Realize this.
Guess what, they had another one when I went back the next day.
Well, we need our salary schedule to be similar to a point of Bismarck's manual and why that's part of it, because we gotta compete. New teacher to new teacher, veteran teacher to veteran teacher. How can that not be? But the dollar amount.
That's what I meant.
Are they each getting a 5% raise? Well, we are right now with career increments.
Career increments, yeah, if you
But
have.
if you're getting 1.95 and 1.2, isn't one getting bigger faster than the other one?
Base goes up.
You're getting basically 190% versus 120%, right? So
It's always 70% apart. No matter what the base is, that's.
oh, I suppose because you got the times out on the base, that doesn't
Sure, increments are attributable year to year, and so that would pile.
So that spread won't change.
No.
The spread doesn't change, but if you add the career increment, that's where you're getting the spread.
For example, well,
Veteran teacher needs they're added on, you'll say, that could maybe get you to a little more
it seems 1.95 versus 1.2 to the dollar itself.
It's all calculated on, as the base goes up, the calculation.
That's what I was trying to do in my head last week. And just, so, okay,
It's a ratio that will never change.
if that's the case, I'm gonna say, okay, here's, the board actually came in here, we have an offer, we wanted to do a flat fee across it. But we're willing just to put the 1,044 on the base and call it a day. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's on the screen now?
That's what I'm saying. Here's our first offer was to get rid of the slower half deal. Now it's just 1,044. Put it on the base like we always do. And be done. Well, if the spread's never gonna change, I guess I'm not that hell bent on doing a flat fee. But you always should get a little bit more for that. If that spread never changes, I'm not hell bent on it. I'm fine with it.
We still have to work on that. Where he doesn't cost us money. We're gonna have to. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back and follow that. We can get this done. Yeah, well, then the other rest of it we can get.
Mike?
Okay.
Call the meeting back to order. Thank you.
We went back and we discussed a few things, and we ran a few things, and looked at some differences, and we respect our teachers that responded to the email poll that came out to us, but we're willing to try to offset that difference that they would make in the .02 with a somewhat of a counter offer. If you would be willing to increase that base to, and I like nice even numbers, sorry, 36,000, which is $1,159. It is a budget number based upon the salary calculator of $1,162,907. It would decrease the difference that a veteran teacher would make with a .02 increase by about half, without further adding that on in the future. And I think we could go back and we could try to sell that to our members. And I say this, you know, and it's very difficult for me to say because 85% of the respondents came back and said this was important, and it is a little more difficult for us to come back and say, you know, where we're there. So.
Mr. Hanson, do you want to just run that in, or just put it in that 1,044 one that you?
It'd be a one thought.
We got
Right
the,
here.
that one. Down to the bottom. We ran some numbers. You're on the bottom
Go
there.
to the other tab, Jason.
There we go, the tab.
We need a touch screen.
Yeah.
There we go, so the tab that says 1044, then you can make that work.
Where's the base at? Right here?
Now we lost.
You just have to add on the top
Vince,
there.
over and
You have to
low.
add it. It's already added.
We're not getting to display.
You
I
get
know.
the screen on.
I know.
Is this the base?
Go up. Screen on.
Oh, there it is. So 36 what?
No, you don't even need to do that. Just put
1159.
1115 there. No. 1,159 is what it says. Now scroll down. There's your total cost. So you're adding 62,000. Why isn't that? That's what I was trying to do real quick. Oh,
Here,
okay.
this webpage. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep, okay, so where, is this it? You're on you still are at the
Yeah,
big
move your-
nine, the big nine comparison is up, okay.
Right there.
There you go.
Okay, so there's
Okay.
what,
That's the 159.
Yeah.
So if you go down to the bottom there,
Scroll
I think
down.
it's 1.162907. Is that correct? Yeah, that was what I came up with. And it puts me on an even number. I like even numbers.
Yeah, I do too. You want
so,
to take a couple minutes quick?
yeah, well, just scroll it, can you scroll it up? I just want to look at it. Is that as far as we go? Oh, I see. That was the whole salary schedule we're gonna have.
Yeah, there it is. That was just if you add so much to the salary schedule.
What happens to it, right? Yep.
But that adjusted, the big line comparison adjusted that, so.
It's all adjusted in there too then?
You'd have to put the new numbers in there.
Oh, okay,
It
really?
doesn't automatically,
Okay.
it doesn't do a lookup on those, but comparatively, it's gonna be the same
Okay.
or similar.
Do you want to take a
Yeah,
couple minutes?
Yep.
Are you ready to talk?
just
So
we're on the same, I don't want to say something.
we want to have a couple minutes then too.
Okay, the board would like a couple minutes to caucus.
We gotta do what we gotta do. You can quote me on that.
Blueberries are pretty good.
They have actually, they've been pretty good. You can keep your forms.
I don't know what that I'm not getting more blueberries because they're pretty dang good.
We just can't see that right there.
We don't want you to.
Oh, come on.
There's not a print copy of that anywhere, is there?
No, I don't think so. Because it's an Excel
It's a work
worksheet.
in progress.
Right.
The bottom line is on, do you want me to move down, use the bottom line?
Yeah. Good.
The bottom line is right there in yellow.
And they're not filling? So maybe instead of asking increase of teachers, ask how many we're losing.
I just want to run that so I can see what it looks like. That's what the 36. Okay. And here's the copy of that.
Is it actually, you want the exact dollar amount? It's about $2,000.
Okay,
And that's every 2 years.
and that's all I do. And so what happens in the year between
You just get whatever rate.
whatever this is?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
whatever that is. But generally speaking, since we usually get something.
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So if I'm here, is that what I get then for this year, or how do I figure out what I get this year?
That's what you get for this year.
And no percentage.
But you said you were 17, not 15. So if they're going on 17,
But
that'd be
see,
your second year,
but
so
they
you're
back.
at 2,000. So you're not in there.
So I think last year I was at 16, so I was here last year. So now this is my first year.
This is your first year out. Okay, so you earn this. This, that's what you get.
And that's what you get.
Yeah, until next year, that's where the percentage goes up some.
It's like 2%. Or is it about?
Did you get that figured in?
It's a percentage, but
Yeah, I put it in I put it in here in big 9.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what it looks like on the actual schedule.
69 plus whatever the biggest is.
So you take this plus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that slide on or not. Probably not, something.
Oh, that's this slide?
Yeah. No. Well, this one I don't have.
Okay, that's fine. We're good.
Is ready? Call the meeting back to order.
Are we on?
Mine's off.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that we do appreciate what you put forward, because we were thinking of going a couple of different ways. And so I'm going to let Jason talk about that.
Okay, we had just two different scenarios, since we only have one total dollar amount that we were looking at. And as a board, we've been, obviously, not to hit this too many times, but the spread is an issue for us. To stay competitive versus our competitors, our new teachers are right in line with everybody else. Where we get 15 years plus the career increments after that, we are above most everybody except for Williston by a large margin. So we actually came in today with two scenarios. Our first scenario was actually a flat fee across of $17.10. That was up there, yeah, $17.10. And that's just something the board has been looking, discussing for a couple of years, just because we want to stay competitive in every one of our cells versus everybody else. And obviously the second one we were looking at then was $1,044 on the base, which would have brought us to that $1.1 million. But Chris and I were discussing, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
62,000. I mean, these negotiations have actually gone way better than we ever thought they would. And we really appreciate how collaborative it was. So
Vice versa.
we are actually willing to settle at 36,000 on the base and have this finished.
Except for the additional.
Except for the other ones we're
that we
doing.
have
But as
to-
far as the salary schedule, I think we're close.
Every cell would get that price of that increase.
Oh, okay.
I think that we can go back and we can sell to our members this number, and at least I hope we can. I've got to justify myself because I'm the one that went against what they asked.
Well, and I don't know how many total teachers there are, but if you had 60 respond out of the total, perhaps it
Yeah.
wasn't that big of an issue for some people, and it is for others, so.
Right. Well, in my mind, I still take it a little personal. You just know who I am, and so it's difficult for me. But I'm willing to go back and make my best effort to sell this plan.
Okay, we appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, so what I hear both sides saying is other than the correction that was made earlier in bargaining on the MS-017 year cell, that was a typo. Keep the salary schedule the same and increase the base from 34,841 to 36,000.
Which
Okay.
is that's an increase of
Increase of 1,000,
11.59?
yeah, 1159 on the base.
Yeah.
For a total cost at
1.162.
1.162.
Okay.
Okay, anything else under salary? Item number 3.5 then, 2-year contract.
And that was one of your issues, so.
Well, at this point, we feel like we're ambivalent about the 2-year contract because we don't know what enrollment will be and we don't know what the payment would be for a per pupil payment at this point. And we don't know that we even have board consensus on yes or no on a 2-year contract. So we, if you have thoughts on it, we'd be willing to think about that together.
Well, I think that, we had the issue and we went to court to fight the one. So, I mean, it was an issue where we would be okay staying with the one. I think that's.
we are too.
Yeah, we'll leave that at
Okay,
one then.
can I
and-
have consensus to withdraw that agenda item?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Item number 4, other. I might, if both sides would indulge me, I would like to just talk about timeline
Yes,
as another.
yeah, timeline would be good.
Okay. As the business office gets ready to move to start building contracts, I hear both sides saying that they think they can get agreements on the salary piece, or they hope to. There's still outside of the day compensation and agreements that are hanging. I understand that the DEA needs to have a week of time schedule, Lyle, correct? Before they can bring a vote, and so I was just doing the calendar math on that. If we had a tentative agreement today, and we don't because we still have those 2 items hanging, that would take the DEA till August 26th before it could take a vote. The school board would probably ratify the next day on the 27th if they could get a quorum and everyone was in agreement. If we issue contracts later that day, they would be due on September 9th. And payroll this year is on September 18th because that's a Friday. I'm just bringing awareness to both sides that she's going to be tight.
So you might not get it in for the September payroll under your scenario.
Unless there can be some, I don't know how we would do that without full agreement. I mean, we could start working on the payroll piece, the salary piece, and then do cleanup on grievance and outside day comp. But I don't know how both parties feel about that because you wouldn't have a ratified, full signed contract yet. That might be a little scary. So I just wanted to put that out there because, we said that anything after August 19th would be really tough for us to make payroll. So, but
And if we have to go to October, is that an issue? I mean, if we have to push it to the October paycheck.
well, it's a soft cost issue. I mean, we'd have to do what we did last year. We'd have to put all of the contracts in and then change them again. You'd be paid at the old rate on September, and then we'd have to do the back pay thing, and that was a little bit confusing for a lot of people in terms of taxes and whatever else, but it can be done. We've done it.
I think with the December, January issue with taxes was,
Yeah.
we're paying taxes on this year for work done last year. So I think that was part of the tax issue.
Yeah. Well, and those teachers that take their contracts on 10 months do that every year. I mean, you're backloading your tax liability anyway, so. Just wanted everybody to be aware of that. So, anything else under other? Debrief. Please help me. The minutes were approved. Outside the day compensation, there's still, we're going to take another look at that, see if we can find some possible contract language. Board wanted Dr. Sullivan to weigh in on that. Grievance procedure, same thing. I think both sides got a little bit closer there in terms of agreeing that let's define a day as a calendar day. We're okay with some time limits. 30 seemed a little prohibited to the DEA. 60 might be easier. See where that is in terms of how that would be administered. Summer school memorandum of understanding was signed and placed into the signature file. I thank you for that. Salaries, it was tentatively agreed that we would leave the salary schedule index the same as the 14-15 index other than the correction, and increase the base by $1,159 to a base of $36,000. 2-year contract, both sides said we'll leave that, we'll take that off the agenda and dissolve that for this year. Other, as the chair, I just gave a business office time schedule. Item 6, next meeting, date and time.
Well, Dr. Sullivan's back tomorrow, so it won't be, it won't be too much for us to get that together, get the language together and see what he says. What's your schedule? You're gone.
I don't know if
Pretty
I have
much? Okay.
I don't know. He's set something
So,
for next week.
is it next week? Next week we're looking at?
Yeah, and next week, understanding that with school starting,
First
it
week
would
of
have to
school.
be, again,
Early
back to
morning or-
early morning, most likely.
We'll see on that. Well,
love morning.
I know. Well, I already have some stuff scheduled at 7 in the morning next week, so.
Wow.
I know, I made some big exceptions there. So, do you want to throw out a day, at some days that work for you?
I guess once school starts, every morning works for me.
Let's just, Wednesday's first day of school. I would
Yeah,
prefer
that would,
not to
I
do
would
it
stay away from the
Wednesday.
first day of school.
You want to do it earlier? You want to do it Tuesday morning?
I may or may not be here Monday or Tuesday, but Sarah can say, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be fine. Do you guys want to do it earlier in the week rather than before? Do you want to do it on Monday or Tuesday morning?
I would say if we do it any morning, it'd be,
Do you have stuff going on? Like
Yeah,
services and
Yeah.
stuff?
The 24th and 25th are in-service.
in-service days.
Yeah.
So do you want to do it before those? I mean, I'm open pretty much all those days, I think.
Tuesday better than Monday?
I think Tuesday is better than Monday,
Yeah.
simply because Monday's a Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
7 a.m., 6:30?
If we want to stay with the hour and a half,
Do you think we need all that?
I don't think we need that all
We
that.
need it, because after that is
Shouldn't.
when you have to do, after this, you'll be doing your meeting. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's when your clock starts ticking, so
Yeah.
it should be short, I think.
So, I mean, we could go 7 o'clock, and I think we
Yeah.
could be done by 8.
7 o'clock,
On the 25th.
Tuesday, August 25th.
Can I just ask is there anything going on in the central administration office where the superintendent couldn't be here?
He's at training on the Danielson model, but I think both he and I scheduled on the same day on Monday, the 24th.
Okay.
So I don't have his calendar, but I do know that we're both at training at 8 a.m., so we can still get there.
7 a.m. on August 25th, is that the date?
August 25th, yep.
How does that look for us?
We'll make it work.
You miss the first half of the service, you're not gonna die.
Is there,
That's the day we're at Danielson, so.
you have to
Oh,
be there at
yeah.
8? But there's only those two
We'll
little
be done
short
by
items
now.
though.
I don't think it'll take that long.
We're working on them outside.
I think if we can get it sent out in the next couple of days.
Maybe if we can get comments back or something so that we can try to start working on it.
Absolutely.
If there's any language that you guys need to work out, I don't know if both groups,
If we
not
could
that
just,
we're trying to backdoor
get
anything,
together
but
quick and
to-
just say, this is, if you want to, we could get together or talk on
Well,
the
you guys
phone.
decide that.
If that's all right with you, if it's just some little,
Not to leave out Mr. Warlow, so I mean, I would need to talk to him.
well, of course, yeah, but, okay. So that's fine.
Okay, so just kind of as a recap on that last item then, it would be understood that any language changes on outside the day comp and grievance, both sides as they draft and redraft or suggest to each other, please email those so team members can wade in and give opinions and pick apart and suggest to improve.
They'll just make it faster on that
Yep.
day.
And if everybody's read those prior to the meeting on Tuesday, should be able to hopefully do things in an hour.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds great, yep.
Any other items for discussion? Chair would adjourn this meeting. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time.